Télévision du Monde, as usual, you must know that we are broadcasting live on Canal Sat 308. That is exactly the channel that you should be faithful to when you want to get all the information and everything that happens during the week or maybe over the past 2 weeks, and that is happening, and that is burning news or the burning issues. And we have, of course, our guests, special guests every week here to discuss about these issues. Mainly today, we shall be talking about politics first, and then later about the media. Politics, first of all, we shall come back to the last NEC meeting of the Social Democratic Front Party that took place sometime last weekend, and coming back to the 4 major resolutions that were taken during this very important meeting. And definitely it's worth noting that today also the Cameroon Renaissance Movement is actually having a meeting. Certainly their panelist here is going to tell us much more about that in his introductory statement. Secondly, we shall be talking about these new sanctions meted out on some media organs and on some media personalities by the National Communication Council. The genesis of it, we are going to come back to the consequences and the genesis and exactly everything that goes around it. Thank you for joining us this moment. We are sorry for the late start. We hope and we really wish that you stay faithful and you stay glued till the end, because we shall give you the opportunity equally to write to us and tell us exactly what you feel about the topics that we're discussing today. On the numbers that you are going to see below the screen, we shall have just 2 of them, Orange and MTN. Exactly, that's going to give you the possibility to send us SMSs to tell us exactly what you feel, or proposals, or your point of views on what the point of views of the panelists are going to be. Just after this little transition, we shall be back to introduce them as usual. Back in the studios, the televiewers, we wish you all welcome once again, and thank you for watching us from all the 4 corners of Cameroon and also of Africa. We are on satellite, so you can get to us from any part of the world. On my left side, let me begin on my left side, we have Chidi Odone, who is from the Social Democratic Front Party. He's a militant of the party. It's his first time attending this program, and I'm very happy he could make it, and on time, of course. Even though we are not beginning on time for some little technical problems, but well, that's going to be solved, and we are promising you that. Thank you, Mr. Chief, for accepting our invitation, and welcome to LTM TV.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for having me for the first time.
Yeah.
I am happy to be here. I want to greet my co-panelists. Greetings to our televiewers and to the great family of the Social Democratic Front. We are hopeful that tonight we are going to be a voice and not noise. Thank you.
And you're saying it like you knew that we are on Voice It, because we definitely should be the voice of the voiceless. Wherever people are gathered together like us, we should make our point of views heard, because there are people out there who are looking up to us and to hear exactly their own views being aired out through us. Now, on just beside you, we are going to introduce Mr. Etienne, of course, Maidimo, who is from the Post newspaper. The Post newspaper, of course, which is suspended for the moment, I would say so, for several reasons. We shall come back to that and know exactly what is going on. Mr. Etienne, thank you so much for accepting our invitation. I know it's a really rocky period for your family, the Post family at this moment.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to my co-panelists. Good afternoon to televiewers. It's always a pleasure being part of any panel. And Flora, just like you're saying, it is a very difficult moment for the Post family. But we think that this is also another moment for us to come out strongly.
And our thoughts and also great wishes, well wishes go out to Mr. Kini Som Silvanus, who is the publisher. You said, what's that terminology that is supposed to be used?
Publisher delegate.
He's the publisher delegate of the Post newspaper, of course, which is a newspaper that has been existing, and that's quite credible, that has been existing for a couple of years. I really give credit to that newspaper, because they have been in the market and been informing people for quite a long period. Well, we shall talk about them today, amidst other sanctions that have been given out by Joe Chebonkeng's National Communication Council. On my right side, we are going to introduce somebody from the Cameroon Renaissance Movement, Mr. Kaigama Ismail. Kaigama Ismail, who is here with us, he's going to also have something to chip into the two major topics that we are going to be having today. Welcome and good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Flora. Good afternoon to my panelists. Good afternoon to your hardworking technicians, and special hello to the Voice program viewers, televiewers, and especially to my fellow militants, CIM militants. And yeah, it's always a pleasure to be part of your panel, and I can tell you that I'm happy to be convened to this panel. And I would also like to, with your permission, to extend my condolences, to the CIM big family, and especially to the CIM national coordinator, the political point Zambue, whose wife, a CIM militant, has been brutally assassinated by unknown and I could say barbaric individuals. May her soul rest in peace, and that those who have perpetrated such a barbaric act must be arrested, persecuted, and punished conventionally. And that the family of the late, I would like to tell them that they have our unwavering support, and that our heart goes out to them at this moment of sorrow. And I would also like to say hello to my fellow militants from the regional federation of CIM Center 1 region, who are currently holding a meeting, the General Assembly of the CIM Center 1 region. I will tell you that things are going well in a calm and I would say friendly atmosphere, and yeah, hopefully that everything goes well, and that the resolutions that would be taken can be easily implemented for the betterment of our party, and also for Cameroonians, for whom the CIM embodies the hope of a new democratic and prosperous Cameroon. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kaigama Ismail of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement. On the second part of this program, definitely we shall be having somebody else from the CPRN party. That's Mr. James Ebot Ayok, who will be joining us for certainly the second topic, which is definitely going to be the hottest topic today. The first topic, of course, we are not undermining any topic. We shall talk first and foremost about the Social Democratic Front Party, which had its last NEC meeting the last 9th of September 2023 here in the city of Yaoundé, and major decisions were taken about the life of the party, and definitely resolutions arrived at, amongst them exactly the reactions to the killings that are taking place in the restive Anglophone part of Cameroon, the economic situation of Cameroon, and a host of other issues that were addressed, major topics. Actually, I would like to know, Mr. Chi, tell us now, you from the SDF party, what exactly was the most important news coming out of that NEC meeting that took place last Saturday?
Well, dear madam, your question to be answered precisely is a very difficult one to classify things in order of importance, because all what comes on the agenda of NEC is important. But most importantly, SDF is about power to the people, and everything we do is people-centered. The NEC meeting of the 9th was an opportunity for the NEC to once more demonstrate its consistency, the consistency of the SDF, with respect to looking for long-lasting solutions to the problems of Cameroonians. You see, for example, in the NEC resolution, we frowned very badly at the inability of the government to improve on the purchasing power of Cameroonians. The situation of the teachers whose who are barely asking for what is due has not yet been resolved, and we stand in solidarity with the teachers to make sure that the government resolves their problems. We have a central government that is, you know, in terms of budget, they consume a lot, and you don't see what they are producing back for the Cameroonian people. But you find the common people, the teachers who are struggling to fend for their families, they have their own rights being violated, and we, being a social democratic party, we think that it is not supposed to be the case in the Cameroon in which we find ourselves. We look at the issue of education, particularly in the northwest and southwest regions, which we are going to focus on. Going to school now in the northwest and southwest region is something that is very important. After 7 years, we can't continue like this. But what has the government been able to do after 7 years? They have concentrated, they took it upon themselves to only use their own methods to handle the problems that are on the field. Some of them even say there are just some few pockets of resistance. Everything is under control. Sometimes they go to the northwest and southwest to go and organize dancing ceremonies. Maybe they dance in the southwest and tell you that everything is under control. It is now northwest people as a problem. There is no issue again in the southwest. Northwest is the only one having a problem. And you know, these are people running away from their responsibility to handle a problem. And it's very important for Cameroonians to note that this problem is 7 years old today. This so-called Anglophone crisis is 7 years old. And that is equal to the mandate of the head of state. And if as head of state you have not been able to handle one major problem, because there is no other problem that is so preoccupying in Cameroon like the so-called Anglophone crisis. For 7 years you have not been able to handle them with all your government. There is a sense in which we say that you have failed the people. It is a failed government. And I will bring you some of the facts, because in one of our resolutions in the next meeting, we called on the head of state to take strong political measures to resolve this crisis. Because the government, the Cameroonian government and the head of state, they have principal responsibility in this crisis. And for some Cameroonians who may be asking the question, how do we establish this principal responsibility? I'll take you back memory lane. Most of the facts which I'm stating, they were the facts that my late national chairman, His Excellency Nijon Funde, may so rest in peace, he stated on the floor of the National Dialogue. In 1964, it was a professor, Professor Bernard Follow. He wrote a memorandum to government calling on the attention of government on the assimilation of the so-called Anglophones, on the marginalization of the so-called Anglophones. Professor Bernard Follow was ignored. In 1984, the late John Foncha and Salomon Tandemuna, founding fathers of the reunified Cameroon, may their souls rest in peace, they formed a delegation and came to see Paul Biya on the Anglophone problem. But yet, they were ignored. In 1991, the national chairman, in his capacity as vice president of the coordination of opposition political parties, walked out of the tripartite conference because the Anglophone problem was being ignored. That same 1991, the Carson Anyangwes, the Simon Muzus, and all the like, they walked out of the committee that was put in place to elaborate the 1996 constitution following the tripartite conference of 1991, because the federal option, which is so dear to the Anglophones, that permits people to develop their own federated state, was ignored. In 1993, we had the All Anglophone Conference 1. Resolutions came out of that conference, and as usual, so-called Anglophones, they were ignored. 1994, AAC 2, All Anglophone Conference 2, they came up with the Bamenda Declaration that led to the birth of the SCNC, which is what you call Ambazonian today is only a continuation of the SCNC. 1994, they came out. Instead of the government sit to think and say, but there is really a problem. What is happening? They were ignored. We even forgot in 1972, after the unfortunate referendum, and it's very important for the people to understand, what was the meaning of a referendum in a one-party system, when everything was by appointment. So you make a referendum in a place where it is already established that people are supposed to have but one opinion. So who was going to campaign for another option, and who is campaigning for option A, and who is campaigning for option B? Obviously, when Ahijo said on the floor of parliament that they had to go to a unity state, that was what was supposed to happen in the referendum. And historians even say it was a yes-we referendum.
Quite beautiful historical fact.
That was a very unfortunate mistake. And after they did that, unfortunate mistake on the part of people like us of the SDF who want to build, but it was a Machiavellic plan to take away power from the people and centralize it for the well-being of a few. And when I'm talking like this, talking to so-called Anglophones and Francophones, that thing was not meant to favor Francophones, because this elite that is keeping this country in poverty, they are being drawn from all the parts of this country, so-called Anglophones and so-called Francophones. They are in this gentleman's club that have decided to hijack the destiny of Cameroonians, embezzling money like rats that have been put in granules.
Mr. T, I see you quite very emotional right there. Thank you very much for taking us back.
I want to finish very briefly.
Honestly, that doesn't seem to be very briefly.
After 1994,
yes,
we left. We went in 1992.
Yeah.
We had the stolen victory of the national chairman. Because of Cameroonian people, the national chairman still
I think we've said that time and time again.
And we went forward. In 2016, when this thing started, the Prime Minister came to Bamenda and they did one thing with two lawyers and all that. The national chairman pleaded with them, says, go and tell President Paul Biya. President Paul Biya should sign this document that you have brought, whether there is federalism or not. Sign it, let the children and the lawyers go to court, children go to school. We wouldn't have been where they are killing people today.
It's quite
that document was not a law. The document from the teachers was not a law. That was too binding.
I would rather you calm down a little bit, because we're going to come back to that. You got into the historical facts, which are really beautifully set out there. Now, I would like to ask the next question to Mr. Etienne Mainimo, to know exactly, as a journalist, I know that you can really testify to the fact that everything that he's been saying is quite valid. These are quite historical facts that cannot be erased. Now, SCF's role, according to you, at this moment, after such a NEC meeting, what do you think is their role at the moment?
Thank you very much.
Things have to get better.
I think the first thing that I would like to say is that SDF is one of those parties, one among the so many parties that regularly they have been having meetings to make sure that their party is strong, which is good. And looking at the resolutions that they took during the last NEC meeting, it is just a continuation of what the NEC meeting that they held last month, and really stressing the fact that Cameroonians are really suffering, Cameroonians are really passing through hard times. And I think when I look through the resolutions, I think they have but one point: to make sure that the Cameroonian people live up to the expectation. And I think in order to make sure that everything works well, I think it is quite very to see or to follow up to see that.
And which of the resolutions, according to you, is the one that's quite important? Does it have to do with economy?
I think one of the resolution that caught my attention was the fact that they reminded the government that they have the sole responsibility to end this lasting Anglophone crisis that has kept
being killed every day.
Definitely. And with the situation, it is 7 years. It means that somebody that was in Form 1 should have been graduating others from upset, and definitely that is not the case now. So I think that's one of the resolutions that caught my attention, and it's really very important to see that this crisis come to an end and children go back to school.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mainimo. Now that children really come back to school, because one of the consequences, like Mr. Chi was saying, is that after all, our children cannot go to school, and so much the economy is being crippled, and it's just like a few big guns that are sitting on all the money of the country. That is exactly what I deduce from it. Mr. Kaigama, your own appraisal of what these resolutions can have as impact. In fact, because it's not all about resolutions, but how can they get implemented, according to you?
I will not, tell you with, with certainty how the resolutions will be implemented. For me, SDF is a political party that must be respected for the struggle that they have waged in the years 1990s. And the CIM wants a strong and united SDF for the 2025 struggles.
Yes.
And we are aware that the party is going through hard time, and that things need to be arranged there. And we are calling the SCF militants to be strong and to stop asking government to do anything, because the government cannot do anything at all. We are talking to people who cannot hear us. We are talking to people who cannot see the evidence. So what I want the SDF to do is to join forces, to join other forces, to see how we can stop all this, and how we can implement what we want for the Cameroonians. Because for us, that government would not do anything at all. They have not been able to do that in the past. It's not now that they would be doing that. They don't have the will to do that. They don't have the power. Maybe they don't have the competence to do that. So we need to find another way of tackling the issues. But for me, the government, I cannot count on the government, because I know that government very well. I know how incompetent and how wicked that government is. So, okay. SDF
strong words you're using
militants.
right there, Mr. Kaigama. You talked about wicked.
Yeah. What do you want me to? What word do you want me to use?
I understand your.
No, I'm talking about people who are, who are indifferent, to Cameroonians, sufferings. People who don't care about children being killed and women being killed. We are talking about people who are there, who don't care about how difficult life is becoming, and that there are a lot of children who cannot be sent to school because of the war, the current war in the northwest and southwest region. I'm talking about those people. How do you want me to qualify them if not to tell you that they are wicked? They don't want to end this crisis, and it's impacting our economy. It's impacting. It's undermining. Our development. So I call them wicked because they have the means, they have the power to end this crisis, but they don't want to do it. This is wickedness. Okay. And well, you asked me how would the SDF implement their resolutions. At the CRM party, we oftentimes preserve ourselves from discussing internal issues to other political parties. And we have a lot of
refused to come on my set to discuss.
Yeah, we have a lot of respect for SDF. So what we want you guys to do is to join us in tackling, in preparing the transition in this country. This is what I will ask them to do, and that would be the best way to implement your resolutions.
Okay, let's get back to Mr. Chi before we get to the second topic this day. Mr. Chi, who is right here from the SDF party and who was very hard. I just love the way, the energy that he put into what he was saying, because away from those resolutions now, what is happening within SDF? We have learned at the end of that NEC party that the first vice president is going to occupy the post that was occupied by the chairman while waiting for the next elections to take place. Tell us much more about.
Well, what your question is a question with its own answer.
I want the affirmation to come from an SDF militant.
Whether I am.
I want it to come from your mouth.
No, I cannot comment it.
That's the reason why you are here.
No, I cannot comment that with you here. It is a NEC resolution. It is what you saw, and it is operating like that, as it is.
And it's unanimously accepted. What about the other angry faction?
Which angry faction?
Oh well, should I cite names or?
Yeah, you can be very precise. Very precise.
Maybe I will ask any other person here.
So the chairman Frunde is always talked about investigative journalism.
Yes.
And once you have your facts clear, put them across.
Don't worry about that.
Clarify.
I'm talking about the ninjas. I'm talking about the ninjas and those who feel disgruntled about what is going on within SDF now, because they feel that they have been left aside, or maybe they are considered different from you of the SDF regular party.
Well, we are speaking on their behalf, but what I know is that the spirit of the SDF is the spirit of bringing people together. And what has happened, a lot of things have happened. But as a political party, what is most important for us is to make an introspection, make a deep analysis, look at where we are, look at where we are going to, and even look at where we are coming from. And then we will take political decisions. In as much as we keep asking the government to take strong political decisions, we will be looking at it, and this is my view, that we should be looking at the situation, past, present, and projecting ourselves in the future, and taking strong political decisions, having in mind the supreme interest of the Cameroonian people. The SDF is supposed to be the SDF, a party for all that actually want a better Cameroon. That was the SDF that was launched in 1990 and piloted by the national chairman for 33 years. So logically, that's what I think. But just very briefly to tell my brother of the CRM that we have always been an assembling force. If he goes back memory lane, he will understand that we have had the successful coalition. We have successfully been able to bring people in this together in this country in 1992, and we won the presidential elections. So we have always been an assembling force with people who are very, very sincere. Let's not get to our political small wahalas, but the SDF is very open to work with those that want to work for the well-being of Cameroon, sincerely, from their heart. Now, to end with what I started, it's important when I'm talking, what I'm saying to Cameroonians, pointing out the principal responsibility of the government. It's not like saying that we're just abandoning it, is the government that will do everything, but it's to make Cameroonians understand, because sometimes when you say that the government is principally responsible, the question they ask you is how?
It's not enough.
You know, many people, especially the young of my generation, who have not been privileged to go through the democratic school, the political school that some of us have gone through, closer to people like the national chairman, may so rest in peace. Many of them don't know and understand where Cameroon is coming from.
Yes.
Some of these facts are missing and they don't understand it. It's very important for them to understand. And when they understand these things, when I'm saying what I'm saying, pointing the principal responsibility on government, I am not also subscribing to what you see, kidnapping, beheading of people and all that in the name of struggling for people. The SDF has never subscribed to that. But the people are seeing.
The chairman was quite clear on that even before he passed away.
Yes. Yeah. The people are seeing all these things. The people are seeing that they are now between two extremes. The government and some other people. And they have to understand that the SDF is the center for them. When they understand all these facts, they have to meditate on how to fall back with the SDF and fight for themselves, because that is the most reliable instrument that the Cameroonian people have now. When you see what happened on the floor of the national dialogue, when the chairman got there, chairman said, look, in the tripartite, this is how you made the tripartite fail. You prepared an agenda, prepared your resolutions, did everything, came here, and you just brought people to come and talk for talking's sake. And that is what happened on the floor of the national dialogue. Let Senator Victor Mukete, before he left us to the world beyond, may his soul rest in peace, he declared that this country, you people are playing with the lives of people. When people die, you come to Yaoundé, you are playing. This decentralized, what is called centralization, which is decentralization, which is actually centralization, which Mukete Abel has failed. And the unity of Cameroon is not functional, and that we need a federal system of government. And Mukete ended and said, okay, if I am ignored, I am crying, I am crying. Why is he saying that if he is ignored, he was crying, he's crying? Many have been ignored in the past. But the good news for Cameroonians is that the Cameroon that we want to build, we the younger generation want to build, is the Cameroon where no Cameroonian will be ignored. Anybody has the right to say how he or she feels, to express his or her pain, and that pain will be adequately looked into like one man, not like Anglophone so-called, Francophone so-called, Bamileke so-called this. We are just in this world for less than 100 years. So I don't have too much time to be defending so-called Anglophone and so-called Francophones.
Thank you, Mr. Chi. Mr. Chi, thank you.
That is what the SDF stands to defend.
You're such a good orator. I love that. And you're very sure about your facts and everything you say. Thank you so much. And you are certainly going to come here as often as possible, because I like people who are very prominent like you. Now, we are going to have a little transition to come back and talk about the second topic, because time is not always on our side here on Voice It. It's really important. We have so much that we have to talk about, so much disgruntled going on, and for one reason or the other, people do not feel satisfied with things or the way they are managed. Let's have a little transition, and then we shall be back to talk on an issue that concerns the media. We are back in the studio, and thank you very much for joining us. Well, we are definitely going to apologize because it might not even be possible for us to have the CPRN party today, unfortunately, for reasons beyond our our means. In fact, let me not say it that way. Well, I'm saying it live because we cannot be able to handle the time that we have. Well, let's continue now. We shall talk about these latest decisions of the National Communication Council. It all began, first of all, with not began only with the Post newspaper, because we heard issues of another journalist in the North region who was actually detained because he published an article on human trafficking, and the governor actually asked him to be detained. Now, the Post newspaper in the Southwest region was banned for a while, and now, after several decisions that concern the Post and other media outlets and other media persons came out, we are talking now about a situation where the Post is actually not functioning. And we have somebody from the Post here with us, Mr. Etienne Mainimo. I know it's quite a very difficult period for you guys at this moment, like you said earlier on at the beginning of this program.
Yeah, it's really a very difficult moment. But what I can say is that, like what was happening in the social media after that unfortunate incident on the 11th of that's 11th of September, the Post took several decisions to remedy what was already damaged, but you know, after equally going to the National Communication Council and equally going to the governor's office, because the governor in the Southwest region also called us to come there. And definitely at the end of the day, what is important is to state the fact that the decision or the sanctions have been levied. We stand by the sanction. The Post respect the sanctions, and I think that's the most important part of it.
And the sanctions did not concern only the Post. Well, let's talk about the Post now, and coming back to the genesis of what actually caused these sanctions, what actually pushed, first of all, the governor to sanction the Post newspaper. Or is it normal? Let me throw the question first of all right now to Mr. Kaigama. First of all, before coming back to you, Mr. Etienne, do you think it's normal for an authority like a chef d'etat, somebody who is like an authority only at the regional level, to take decisions that should be taken by the National Communication Council? Is it normal for you?
I don't think it's normal. I don't think it's normal because it's not part of his duty, you know, to sanction the media, an independent media. But you know, I'm not surprised when it's happened so, because you know, those governors and chef d'etat behave in yet different, you know, constituencies, like Paul Biya himself. So we are not surprised. They are out there, you know, to protect, you know, their party and the person, you know, who nominated them. So my opinion is that it's not right. It's not grounded. Such a decision is not grounded, and I think the Post should be seizing, you know, the tribunal. You know, you should attack that decision. It's not normal. I might understand, you know, a decision from the NCC, the National Communication Council, and I think that the sanction is, for me, disproportionate. You know, I don't know if they have received, you know, at the first place, you know, a kind of warning. Have you been warned that what you're doing is not appropriate? I don't know.
He actually banned the Post, accusing the outlet for flagrant violation of professional norms, according to him.
So what do they put in the violation? I mean, what has the post done? I mean, about to be sanctioned? From what I know, and I mean, the representative from the post here, who might correct me if I'm wrong, they were about to publish
an article.
And that was not. It was a draft. I mean,
yes,
it was
I
not.
guess Mr. Manimu should give us some details about
some
that.
details about
yes,
it,
the issue is that, you know, as a tradition with the Post newspaper, when an edition is supposed to come up, once the front page is laid, the Post consult the editorial as well as the bureau staff, so that they can talk about the front page. But unfortunately, as they were still to finalized, it was seen in the social media, and then when it leaked out to the social media, there was that tension, and one thing that we have to know is that it was not intentional. So the Post took several measures to make sure that the damage that had already been caused should be limited.
Mr. Etienne, I think we should come. It's really important for us to come back to what you guys are accused of doing, as much as the other people who have been levied, who have been levied sanctions. They are accused of having made some publications which are not really according to government authorities, too regular or maybe too conventional or too acceptable. Well, the Post is being accused of publishing something that has to do with an evaluation of several coup d'etats that have taken place. Was it a way of saying that, okay, you don't have the right to incite people to maybe public order, or maybe a possible situation occurring in the same country, in our own country?
That is a very difficult answer, a difficult question to answer. But I think the Post is always having that mindset to do their work following the ethics of the profession. And for the past 20 years that the Post has been existing, I think the Post has always, followed the deontology and the ethics of the profession in doing their work. And I think this is one of the worst things that have ever happened to the Post. But I think lessons have been learned, and I think the editorial team is taking various steps to make sure that it doesn't happen. But definitely, the Post reports the stories with facts, the sources, everything. So that's the best thing that I can say.
And the Post is not the only newspaper. Mr. Kagama, I'll come to you. Let's have the point of view from Mr. Chi. The Post is not the only newspaper that has fallen victim to this situation. We have newspapers like Flesh d'Afrique that publish also, that came out with several publications that were considered really not good enough. I mean, affecting people's reputations, people who are highly placed. What do you think about that kind of situation? Is it repression, or is it actually a way of saying that, okay, the NCC comes back into play? Because after the Post was sanctioned by the governor, for example, the NCC came over now to sanction not only the Post and its publishers for 1 month each, but also the other people who were accused. I guess, how many of them are there? There are about 5 or 6, if I'm not mistaken, media outlets and also media persons.
In other words, before I make you share with our televiewers what I am thinking, I want to, it's my opinion, and I have said it time without number, that you people of the journalism profession, you should organize yourselves and have the National Communication Council with an elected bureau. You know, the journalism communication profession is a liberal profession. It's in some countries like the United States, the fourth power is very important. They say he who is not informed is deformed. Information is very important. That is why when the SDA was born in the 1990s, they blocked us so many avenues to have access to be able to speak to the people. Information is very important, and when the government has a strong grip on the informational apparatus, like it is the case now, it is very dangerous for a democracy. It is my opinion that the journalists should have the National Communication Council, those that are sitting there, elected. Well, you see, for example, with the bar, those of them that they are elected, you see the difficulties they are facing to, at least they are even allowing you people exercise before they come. For those of the bar, they will not launch them exams because they don't like those free professions where people express themselves and who can stand for justice, for human rights in this country, the bar, the journalists and all that. So you see the way they are blocking the bar. But I still maintain that the journalist profession, they need to get the National Communication Council members of that bureau elected and not appointed. That way you will have your full autonomy. That way you will be able to gather as members of that profession and make an introspection and make proposals to government. Tell also the government how you feel. When the SDF will govern this country, we want to hear from you people how you feel about what we are doing.
The governors actually of the various regions considered to be like the people heading the regions find themselves in the obligation of bringing back things to order when they realize that, for example, things are not moving right. Last time Atangaji actually asked each and every one of those governors to make sure that they put an eye on everything that is going out when it comes to media houses. That was in the last meeting of governors that took place here in Yaoundé some time ago. Now, from that perspective,
when the eye is excessive, it should make you people understand we are in a modern tyranny. We are not in a democracy. That is why the eye must be very excessive. The eye must be very excessive because they have too much. They have too much to hide. So look at what is happening with the communique of the governor concerning the post, and then you now say that the National Communication Council took the opportunity to now sanction other news organs. It's because the National Communication Council was under pressure by what the governor has done. Maybe they have sat and they have examined that maybe people will start attacking the governor's actions for illegality. So they had to come in to support the governor, and in coming in to support the governor, they need to generalize it. Now they now bring everybody and say no, because if they just came in just for the case of the post, they will say so you people have just come in this time only because you want to support the governor of the north of the southwest. No, they had to now try to generalize everything and say no, we just want to do our job and all that. And why did they, what is happening? They are calling coup d'etat. I keep saying it. The only way for a so-called Democrat to say no to coup d'etat is to stand for real democracy. It's not that we will choose our own coup d'etats. There have been constitutional coup d'etats in this country. Such coup d'etats, governors will not have any reason to complain about them. We had a constitution in this country that limited mandates. The limitation of mandates was removed simply because President Paul Biya was the only individual in Cameroon who could not stand for elections in that year. So the law, which in principle is supposed to be general, was changed because of one man. And when you look at the change from 2008 up to today, you do not see general interest in that change. What is the benefit of Cameroonians from 2008 to today in that constitutional modification of 2008, which killed, it had to cost the life of young Cameroonians to be killed for that modification to be done. Now you just took us out of the media into that was a coup d'etat that such a governor could never have condemned or blame a newspaper for publishing a newspaper saying nous encourageons les modifications constitutionnelles, we encourage modifications. If you publish that, you would have been fine. But it's a coup d'etat. It is a coup d'etat in a country where you say you are a democratic country. In principle, laws are supposed to be general and impersonal. But the rules that are regulating the electoral game are thwarted to favor just one person. It means that you are going against the will of the people. You have developed a plan to make sure that the will of the people does not prevail. If yes, the people are expressing themselves, why is the government afraid of consensus as far as elections is concerned? They have been making coup d'etats with elections in this country, and those are coup d'etats that they like. So when it comes to that one, such governors will not have anything to say. To the post, they have all my empathy. And the national chairman, before he left on the 11th of February 2021, he had a dinner with news organs in this country, and he told them, we fought very hard for the 1990 liberty laws to be put in place for the press to be free, and we are very, very saddened to see that mistakes of the press have now been criminalized. This gentleman you are saying that was put in jail, that's a criminal sanction, was put in jail because he published things of human trafficking and all that. The question I ask myself is what the man said, is it true? Now if it is false and it was maybe a mistake, why is it that they did not start with a mild sanction? We have had publications around the world, for example, when they were talking about trafficking in Libya. I think it was CNN that made a publication on human trafficking some time ago, and it turned out to be that it was true. And the world has to rise up and see that they resolve that separation. So please, journalists, you have to organize yourself. The SDF, we have always been doing our part. Organize yourselves and stand as one man to get your national communication.
Mr. Etienne here, who is a journalist like me, Mr. Etienne here, who is a journalist like me, before I get to you, a politician, Mr. Kaigama, I'm really sorry about that. I would like you to have a say about what he just said. In fact, I was rather very touched by him saying that we have to reorganize ourselves, because honestly, from the 1990s when we had press freedom, we realized somehow that we are not really free. It's almost like multipartism, okay? It's almost like when the multipartism system was brought in. How far are we today, according to you, when it comes to press freedom? I don't want to say taking your case, if we have to go general.
I think when it comes to press freedom in Cameroon, there is, I think, if you look critically, you discover that for those who say press freedom is in Cameroon based on the fact that you can wake up one morning and you create a newspaper, you create a television station, or you create a radio station, to them that is their own point of view. But to me, I think that is, to an extent, that is it. But I think critically, what I can say about press freedom is that if you look critically, you discover that we are still to reach that level, because the environment, the terrain in which journalists can work effectively is not there. Politically, economically, and legally wise, you discover that the terrain is very, very difficult. If you look at it from a political state of view, you will understand that if there is a lack of information, sometimes you get to the authorities to give you information, there is no information. They tell you that, no, this person has not talked, this person is still to come, and this is the only person that can talk. If you look at the legal framework, look at the laws, you discover that the 1990s laws on press freedom, they still have a problem. There are still some clauses that are still, and then you look at
respected.
Yes, which needs to be changed, modified. If you look at the 2014 law that was set on terrorism, you discover that it puts journalists at a tight corner, because if you report on something, you likely be termed a terrorist, exactly. and therefore it's very very difficult for you to operate. If you equally look at the environment in which journalists in Cameroon are working when it comes to critical reporting, that is reporting, it becomes very delicate when you have to go critical. There is no investigation. If you want to investigate in Cameroon, that is you are joking with your life, because it will really go to an extent where sometimes if you report on something which is not at the interest of the government, you are definitely having you will definitely fall into boiling water. So, and that is why you see journalists, they now fall in line with the views of the authorities, and why not, and other things, and it is the way it is. I think we really need journalists associations have been fighting to make sure that there is press freedom, and they have continued to fight, and I think each and every journalist,
they've been mediating the causes of all the journalists who have been victims of
definitely, and they continue to fight. Exactly. And there is a call for journalists, all journalists, to stand in the fight, so that together we can have that press freedom which we are all crying for.
Mr. Kaigama, before I read the messages we got, because we have so many messages.
Okay.
Some of them are addressed to Bisachi.
We need, the media and citizens are not free in Cameroon, and those governors and the NCC members are not have not been appointed to serve Cameroonians. They have been appointed to serve their party, the CPDM, and the person who appointed them. And I would like to hear much from the CNN and governors when journalists are arrested, tortured, and killed, like what we witnessed in 2019 when Wazizi got arrested, tortured, and killed.
Recent case of
till today, we don't know who killed Wazizi. And earlier this year, in January, Martinez Zogo has been, kidnapped, brutally tortured and killed. We didn't, the CNN was nowhere to be seen. The NCC, I mean, was nowhere to be seen. And we finally wonder, for who are they working, if not for the president? So they just show up, when they hear from, when they hear from, when, they hear from the coup d'etat, as they, their job is to protect, the seat of the president, the interest of their party and the president. So I condemned, what happened to, the post, but I would like to, I don't want to undermine, I don't want to compromise your chances to see your, the sanction be lifted, but I would like you to, to attack the decision. Is not grounded for me, and you might, of course, we know that even the justice is not independent in this country. Finally, everything is to be, reviewed in this country. So this is what I wanted to say. I want to see the NCC and the governor, when journalists, when you guys are persecuted, when citizens are not able, to express your opinion. This is where we want to see them, to act, and not, they are here to protect the media independence.
Definitely, it is the council that is supposed to be protecting the interest of media.
I'm not harassing you. I'm not, going against you. I think it's abnormal, and that should not be accepted in our country.
Mr. Chi?
Yes, I've been.
We're going to reach a level where we will read messages, but I guess I'll rather leave that for the end of the program, because the questions are going to also have to do with the first part of the program.
Our televiewers, I maintain my point of political autonomy for the National Communication Council. You journalists, it is never given. You journalists should rise up for it. People of the media profession have a National Communication Council for the journalists, by the journalists, and with the journalists.
Yes.
Not this what you people are seeing now.
But the head of the National Communication Council is a journalist.
Yes. So for now, like you have heard my brother talk about the case of Wazizi, there are so many of them whose rights have been violated and nothing is being done. You don't see the National Communication Council so strong like you see them come out when these kind of things happen with the post.
So it has to do with repression.
What we are saying is this: what Cameroonians should understand is this. When you see the governor react that way, it means that they are afraid of something. That word coup, there is a coup that they are afraid of. And I'm here to tell the government that the best way to prevent a revolution is to do the revolution. The time has come. It has been proven beyond reasonable doubt that you cannot solve the problems of Cameroonians. And President Paul Biya should take this golden opportunity and operate a political transition in Cameroon. It is time for a transition government in Cameroon to put real Cameroonians who can be able to resolve the burning problems of Cameroon and make sure that President Paul Biya gets out through the big door. That is an opportunity that is being offered him. So if you want to avoid the coup, do the democratic transition. That is the best way to stand against a coup, by being a true Democrat. And President Paul Biya has the golden opportunity to do that.
We thank our televiewers
would have gained autonomy. You would better be able to see a National Communication Council that works for the journalists. As it is now, it is more of an operation instrument than an instrument that is supposed to organize, galvanize the practice of journalism.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chi. I guess it's time for us to read these messages coming from our televiewers, and thank you all for watching very much this program. Well, I'll read the first message that says, hello, excuse me, but the man from SDF is not saying the truth. It is Anglophones killing Anglophones, not the army killing. Army kills, it is always by mistake, but our brothers kill us if we don't agree with them. And in the northwest and the southwest, Francophones from Tico, are they not also humans? Why are they never represented? Boros from the north and southwest are never represented, only the Sawas and the Grassfield. And decentralized GCE, we are tired of SPECO, always coming from the same place. Questions should come from everywhere and marked everywhere. Why don't you complain about one writing in the far north but must send his paper to Anglophone region before it's being marked? Well, that's already addressing so many other problems.
Very briefly, I want to tell that televiewer, the SDF has the solution. The first thing is that Cameroonians need to come together in this country and talk to one another. Yes. I'm happy to hear her view like that. Exactly. This is one of the things we have missed in this country. And I have said it time without number, like Americans met in Philadelphia in 1887, and they spoke and they designed an American that was the America for everybody. Cameroonians need to come and talk to one another. And if we have a sincere dialogue, reconciliation with ourselves, embrace ourselves, forgive ourselves, and ask ourselves, now, what Cameroon, especially for the future, do we want? I think that we will be able to address all the things. And the federal system is the best form of system that accommodates divergence of opinions. And that is what the SDF is incarnating.
Second message right now, I guess this one I'm going to be addressing it to Mr. Etienne. Madam, I don't agree with the killing of journalists, but when some of them go out of ethics and start fighting people and say lies that expose people's lives, once the people realize if they try, they will hear foresee. I don't know what he's trying to write right there. So they decide to defend themselves. Well, I guess the essence of this message is about the fact that journalists, some of them just go out of ethics. That's the reason why they don't have to expose people's lives, and that's why they are being reprimanded for several things.
The legal jurisdictions maybe should answer.
Yeah, I think yes. For the fact we cannot just say in general that some journalists don't also go out of the line. There are some that usually go out of the line, and that is now where the various journalistic association comes in, the various media organs comes in to put their journalists in line. There are so many instruments to use. You have various in-house seminars, you have various associations, they organize seminars to put journalists, to make sure that they put journalists on the right footing, and that is how this can be done in order to stop all this that is happening.
Okay. The legal jurisdiction in a country that functions well, where the legal system is functional, like what the so-called common law lawyers came up with, that majesty should be taken from the lawyers' court. If we have so many lawyers trained and the justice system is working, when people find their rights violated and they know that they will get to the courts and get judgment very fast at a very affordable cost, justice at the doorstep of every Cameroonian, such issues will be addressed, and journalists that do not respect the ethics will obviously sit up or be put off.
We don't have much time on our side. I think we should read all the messages right now before we have the last reactions from each and every one of our panelists. Thank you, Mr. Chief, for all this argument. Unfortunately, it is aimed at those who developed the war economy around this crisis. Signed, Alphonse, all the way from Yaoundé. Thank you, Mr. Alphonse, for that message. Somebody here says, my brother from SDF is not serious. Opposition always says liberty of press, but once they are the ones bearing bad behavior of the press, they change their words. It is sometimes normal for their events to be restricted at times, because your same party's nature site used to say we will sabotage you in case you don't know. So for safety reasons, the government says no. Please, when was the new SDF president elected? He was imposed. Is that not a form of constitutional coup d'etat within the party? Up till now, some are against. There is over liberty in the press in Cameroon. That is still not signed. Well, so the new president, according to him, has been imposed. What do you think about that?
Well, it is an appreciation. Like I said, I am not here to comment on the dead resolutions. That is what they are. But what is most important for me as a militant looking at the SDF in the future is that we make our introspection and make sure that we position ourselves as the credible alternative for the regime in place.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chi. That was quite impressive and very brilliant intervention right there, Mr. Etienne. Mainimo, we are going to be leaving the set anytime from now. What last word would you say, while wishing that things get back to order? Because honestly, I would love these sanctions to be uplifted as soon as possible, as much as every other media organ and media person concerned about these sanctions from the NCC?
I think the only thing that I would say is the fact that our readers, our advertisers, truth be told that the sanctions are already there. There is nothing we can do, but the most important thing is that we will respect the sanctions, and we are promising you guys that we will come back and come back strongly.
We would like to send our words of greetings to the entire the Post newspaper family and wish them well, especially Mr. Kinney Som, who actually is really very touched at this moment. Well, we wish you well, and we wish that things get back on track. Mr. Kaigama, it was a nice time having you here again today. What last word would you have to say before we separate?
Well, I would like the NCC and the governors, because I'm calling them governors. It's not only that of the north, the southwest. Yeah, yes. They are all the same. I'm calling on them, to start. To protect the freedom of the press and the freedom of free expression in Cameroon. And I would like them to start by, with the case of Bibu Nisa, Professor Alain Foguet, and also to see the case of those journalists who, are used to, saying bad things, like a community should be eradicated. I heard a journalist saying that on a television channel that I would not name here. I would like to see the NCC, to tackle such attitudes. And my thoughts are with the Post. Hopefully, you'll be the sanctions will be lifted. So that you could, resume your brilliant work to inform Cameroonians. It's very important, The Post might be the only press in the southwest, maybe, or not. I don't know.
It's not the only one.
Yeah, and to my fellow comrade, from the SDF, I want you to be strong. And I know that you are, going through a hard time, and hopefully that everything will be all right. We want a strong SDF for 2025. So thank you.
This is what we call peaceful coexistence when it comes to political parties. Thank you very much, Mr. Kaigama. Very impressive.
Just to say that the ban on the Post, I can also submit that it should be uplifted. We have had issues where agencies cause accidents and bans are uplifted.
And they were uplifted.
We think that the Post has established credibility in the media landscape. And this, for that reason, the National Communication Council should see about it and uplift that ban. It's a plea.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chi. We are not against opposition, but we realize that they do the same things. They blame CPDM, so no need changing. We want to recognize them in their words. Well, it's always good to preach, to always preach what you to portray what you preach. Exactly.
This is exactly what we have been doing.
By examples, exactly. So that's the reason why I would say thank you so much for coming here today. We talked majorly today about the sanctions of the National Communication Council, repression or regulation. Well, we came back into the small things that have to do with this issue. Equally, we talked about the SDF and the last NEC resolutions and how they affect our country, and Mr. Chi so well came back to the historical part of it, and it was with a lot of pleasure. Dear televiewers, we thank you for respecting the rendezvous this Saturday again. Next Saturday is going to be another edition of Voice It. It was a pleasure being with you. Have a nice time in the company of all the programs that follow suit on the television. Don't go away.